The Streets Will Never Forget podcast would like to pay tribute to the 96 people who tragically lost their lives 32 years ago this week in the Hillsborough disaster. One of the most horrifying moments in football should never be forgotten, and no one should go to a football game and not go home afterwards. Our thoughts are with the families of the victims. Hello, and welcome to the Streets Will Never Forget podcast. My name is Callum, known as Trail. I've got with me Callum, known as Wall, and Rob, known as Rob. How are we, boys?
Howdy, everybody. I'll be well.
Hello.
Are we all doing okay?
Hello to everyone on this fine Saturday evening.
Thank you, Rob. He's got it right now.
Is it going to be a Saturday?
When it goes out, it'll be a Saturday, won't it?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, we had a Sunday episode once.
Well, some of us have got busy lives, Wall.
We all do. We all have busy lives. This is
Exactly.
This is much I'd love to be my full-time job. Unfortunately, that is not the case just yet.
Yeah, exactly. It will be going out on a Saturday, ideally, unless something crops up. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. So, as you can tell by the name of this video, this week we are doing Bulgarian legend Dimitar Berbatov.
Man of the Year 2009.
Man of the Year 2009.
Bulgarian
Wait,
Man
who?
of the Year. Sorry.
Who rated him?
Bulgaria.
Okay, Bulgarian Man of the Year.
It was Bulgarian Man of the Year.
Yes, most famously played, of course, in the Premier League for Tottenham, Man United and Fulham. So we'll get straight on, as always, with the quiz. Are we both ready?
Bring it on.
Yes, mate.
Let's go. So, question number 1. Did Dimitar Berbatov ever captain the Bulgarian national team?
I was going to say no.
Yeah, I'm going to say no. I feel
it wouldn't be a question, because the obvious answer is yes.
Martin Petrov was surely the captain.
He did indeed, for 5 years, from 2006 to 2010.
Oh, okay.
With which club did he... Question number 2. With which club did he end his playing career?
I did read this. I can't remember what they were called, though.
The last club I remember him being at was Monaco.
Yeah, he had two other clubs after that.
Yeah, he did.
The Greek side.
Yeah, he was at PAOK, wasn't he? I think something like that. Or they called PAOK, I think PAOK. He did end his career at the Kerala Blasters, who you may never have heard
are they in the Indian League?
I think so, yeah. A couple of other players went there. Wes Brown went to them as well, and so did David James, who then went on to manage them. Just a little tidbit for you. When they were managed by David James, Berbatov actually played for them, and he said that David James used absurd tactics as a manager.
I mean, that does not surprise me.
He played as a defensive midfielder. He played as defensive
Calamity James.
How many international goals? Question 3. How many international goals did he score?
I got 48, mate.
Yeah, 48 as well, yeah.
48 and 78 appearances.
Yeah.
Question number 4. How many times did he win Bulgarian Footballer of the Year?
Oh, it was like 7 or 6? 7, I want to say. 7? I'll go for 7.
Yeah, I'll go for 6 then.
Oh,
Very
Rob,
bit.
it's 7.
Yeah, what?
Do you not know your Bulgarian Footballers of the Year, Rob?
No, mate.
Come on, Rob.
Get grip.
I mean, who else could it have been? Martin Petrov? Again, I'm big into
I don't know, because I was thinking Stilian Petrov as well, wasn't he? But he might have got it a time or two.
Question number 5. How was Berbatov quoted as saying that he learnt the English language? What did he do to learn English?
No idea.
I was trying to think something super silly. I have no idea. I assume
Watch
just maybe
EastEnders.
Watch Top Gear.
Well, both very good guesses, but he actually watched the Godfather films.
Oh, fair play. I mean, that I could imagine him in the Godfather. To be fair.
Well, yeah. Funnily enough, you mentioned that. One thing I do want to bring up before we go any further.
Wait a second. I've got a follow-on quiz question for you both.
Oh,
cool.
Straight
The man took my job.
Straight into the mixer. So,
not my job, didn't want it. So,
in 2011, Berbatov was an unused substitute in the Champions League final. No, it wasn't even a substitute. Sorry, he was left.
No,
out.
He wasn't even
He was left out of the squad. Who was it who took his place on the bench?
Oh, I do know this. I read it earlier today.
I
suppose any of the players technically took his place, but if we're thinking of strikers,
one specific player, striker-wise.
Oh, is it someone like Bebe or something?
Michael Owen.
Yeah, it was Michael Owen.
Yeah, Michael Owen. Yeah. Christ. Yeah. So.
No wonder Man U lost it.
It's funny enough to mention the Godfather and stuff like that, because actually, Berbatov originally said that he was, when he was about 18 years old, he was pressured into joining a football team owned by a guy who was like an undercover mafia boss.
Oh.
In his in
Bulgaria.
Bulgaria, yeah. The guy was eventually killed, I think, the guy. But rumor has it is that he pressured him to join his club because he was so good. He wanted to join the club I'm playing for. But someone came in, whoever it was he played for first in Bulgaria, came in and said, they settled the sort of thing, settled the whole thing, and they went there instead.
Mm-hmm.
So he does have connections.
There we go.
So moving on, who would like to go first to give us their opinion and their information on Dimitar Berbatov?
Before I start, I need to make a disclaimer, I think.
You're related to Dimitar Berbatov?
Yes, he's my son. No, obviously, being a Manchester United fan, I loved Berbatov when he was playing. I've got a signed photograph of Berbatov in my bedroom, so everything I say tonight is probably biased as fuck.
Okay, that's fair enough.
I just want people to understand that I'm probably looking at this from a very biased point of view. I'm going to try not be, but I'm probably going to big him up a lot more than I think you two boys are.
Well, yeah, like I say, you don't know what's
start then anymore, mate.
And with that, I will start proceedings by saying I love Dimitar Berbatov.
What is it you loved about him more?
From what I've been looking at and reading, obviously highlights and stuff. Technically, he was a hell of a gifted player. Fantastic touch, really, technically brilliant. Great touches, great passes, really great awareness of the game. He just made the game look easy, and I think that's where his laziness supposedly comes from. The fact that he can sort of play at such a slower pace because he's calm, he's collected, he knows what he's doing. He sees things before he does them. You've only got to look at his most. So you're
saying he wasn't lazy then, Wall?
I'm not saying he wasn't lazy, but I'm saying he could be lazier because he had the ability to know what he was doing and get into positions without running around like a fool. Like, you've only got to look at probably one of his most infamous assists, his flick against West Ham, to be able not only to pull it off, but to be he knows he's going to do it before he even gets to the ball. He's running and he just, flawlessly straight over the player's leg, pass it straight to Ronaldo and it's goal.
In that goal, I watched that goal recently, actually, earlier. Tevez was absolutely screaming for it. He was absolutely raging for the ball, and Berbatov just tapped it in through to Ronaldo instead, who scuffed it in. It's funny you should mention him being lazy, Wall, on that comment, because I've got a quote here that I found by somebody online, not necessarily a pundit or anything, just someone said, as a long-time Manchester United fan, I feel Berbatov is the most underrated player, as he would score tons of goals in his time at United, but would always be derided because people felt he was lazy. He wasn't lazy, he just played his game in a different way to, say, Wayne Rooney or Tevez, who ran around the pitch.
Well, exactly. I think when we signed him, he was totally different to, say, your Rooney, your Tevez, and that complemented the team. You've got Rooney and Tevez running around like maniacs. Tevez was always running and, chasing the player down. Rooney, obviously, tenacious, always tracking back as well. Berbatov, we didn't need him to do that. He was able just to stand there and, take his foot off the gas a bit. And only when the ball came to him, he'd have a great bit of skill or a great pass or, just something that, opened the play up. And that's what he was there for. And he did it really well.
Okay. Well, have you got anything to say, Robin, either in addition or opposite of that?
Well, he's basically just going to say we're lazy.
No, I'm going to agree with Wall mainly on this one.
Wow.
I'm not going to argue I'm not going to argue that he wasn't. Certainly in terms of work rate, I suppose when you're up top with Wayne Rooney, who would chase everything down, not be afraid to put himself about, not be afraid to jump into tackles, then he's always going to appear lazy. And I think one of the things that Man United could afford at that time, because they were so good, was to carry a player, not necessarily carry, but afford that luxury player who can maybe do things, doesn't offer as much going backwards, but can create magical moments and inspirational moments going forward. But I think I'm going to, like I said, mainly agree with Wall. Is sort of what he was with he was able to see what he would do before the ball had even arrived at his feet. He he was almost, from what I remember and from what I've seen, he was almost a step ahead of everyone else. He had that spatial awareness and reading of the game, that he was always in the right place at the right time. He knew where other players were. Obviously, you hear a lot, don't you, sort of about like the Xavis and Iniestas, that they knew where a player would be without even having to look, and it's sort of that similar attribute to Berbatov. He knew where he had to be. He knew where players around him was, and he knew how to get himself out of tight situations. One of the things that sort of you think about when you think about players like that is that they slow it down in the mind. The game's simple for them because they keep it simple, and then they know where they've got to be and when they've got to be there. I think in terms of sort of comparison, sort of probably the biggest compliment I can pay him is that sort of with his touch, his vision, and his ability, he sort of reminded me a bit of Dennis Bergkamp. And as we all know, and as we'll never debate, Dennis Bergkamp was the greatest player to ever play in the Premier League. So yeah, no, I agree with Wall. I think for a lot of that, I think United could be able to carry him because he was a luxury player. But then simply the fact of his phenomenal touch, his phenomenal vision, his phenomenal awareness just sort of made him sort of that level above. So he never had to run around, he never had to make the game complicated because he was always one step ahead in his mind. He didn't need to.
Yeah, I think one thing I just want to mention is his goal scoring record for Bulgaria. Like, that's an incredible record for Bulgaria, isn't it?
Oh yeah, for a team
48 goals and
quality.
78 appearances. I mean, I don't know how many competitions Bulgaria have been to or anything like that, but that's like really good, isn't it? I mean, I thought like Crouchy, for example. Crouchy had a good, goal scoring record. 1 in 2, I think it is, for England or something. But that's really good for Bulgaria.
But I think sort of even one of the things that sort of probably helped him with that was the fact he'd score all sorts of goals.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Outside of his 4 chip shots, obviously there's the overhead kick against was it Liverpool that he scored?
Indeed, yeah.
Sort of that's again sort of what reminds me of Bergkamp. It's that unknown.
Well, actually, I was looking at I was watching his goals and assists for Manchester United. And actually, it surprised me with how many like strikers goals he got. Like, in terms of actually poaching goals and being a strike on the 6-yard box and the last man, that was also he also had a talent for that. But I think that comes with his being able to read the game and knowing what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised when looking at him how intelligent he was as a player. I mean, and I'm not trying to insult him and say I thought he was thick, but we talk about him taking this time to, play the pass and read the game, as Rob said. A really intelligent player, and that assist he does, to put in Ronaldo just proves like the forethought and stuff like that. And I think that's a very valued thing, and being an intelligent player will carry you very far, won't it? Because you can use your intelligence to compete against people who maybe use more speed or brute force, etc. So I think, I've got a quote here from Alex Ferguson who said that with Berbatov, they had a touch of genius. And that's coming from Alex Ferguson. Surely there's not much higher praise. I mean, definitely not from Manchester United football.
Is that the same Alex Ferguson who, when Berbatov was top scorer for that season, who left him out of the Champions League final squad altogether?
Did he get a bit complacent towards the end of his Man United career? Did he get lazier? He went to Fulham after that, and that's a big step down. I know he was 31, I think, at the time.
Yeah, he just hit 30, I think.
But, I mean, Fulham's a big step down for somebody that we're talking about being apparently so good at Man United.
Well, it is, but I still think he had something to give. I mean, you look at his appearance, his first season at Fulham, he scored 15 in 34.
It's good for Fulham.
Maybe the game changed a bit though, didn't it? Like when you think about that Man United team what lost to Barcelona that year, they literally were chasing shadows, weren't they, for 90 minutes? So I don't know, maybe he just fell out of favour. Maybe Sir Alex Ferguson thought they could no longer afford to carry that luxury player without the work rate as well. Like, again, I wouldn't necessarily define him as lazy. I just sort of, because we've already touched on his ability to read the game meant that he didn't have to work as hard as everyone else. But he certainly, you wouldn't see, he wasn't sort of a Wayne Rooney-esque player, was he? Sort of would chase around and hunt the ball back.
Is he? I'll ask this one to War, being a Man United fan. Do you think, in your experience of Man United, so the years that you've been able to support them, do you think he's the most underrated Man United striker that has been?
Oh, bloody hell.
No, Diego Forlan.
Well, Diego Forlan, but I think in terms of players who have actually got maybe the evidence and the stats to back themselves up, we all know how good Diego Forlan was. It just didn't work.
Mm.
But with Berbatov, yeah, absolutely. I think he won. He got the Golden Boot.
Yeah.
In 2011, I want to say 2010. Anyway, he won the Golden Boot. In that season, he had the hat trick against Liverpool, 5 against Blackburn, 3 hat tricks in that season. The first striker at Man United since Van Nistelrooy to do that.
Yeah, I saw that.
First Man United player apparently all in 64 years to score a hat trick against Liverpool.
Well, yeah, exactly.
First foreign player ever to score 5 goals in one game in the Premier League.
Well, actually, I was about to go on to that. Can anyone name me the other 3 people to have done it?
What, score 5?
Yeah.
Andy Cole, Alan Shearer, and Jermaine Defoe.
Fantastic, yeah. I wouldn't have got Andrew Cole, to be honest. I would have probably guessed Alan Shearer, and I have something in the back of my mind that tells me Jermaine Defoe, but I never would have thought
Jermaine Defoe did it for Portsmouth and Tottenham. He did it against Wigan, didn't he?
Yeah, against Wigan. Andy Cole, I think it might have been Ipswich when it was 9-1. I think it was Ipswich. Yeah. Shearer, I'm not sure what that one was.
I mean, Shearer scored goals against everyone, didn't he? So it could have been...
Well, he scored 260 goals. He's bound to have banged 5 in at one point.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I'm almost gutted there's not 6. Thought, what a lazy bastard.
Well, no, I'm just going to continue my agreement that, yeah, he was definitely a very underrated striker. I mean, maybe the likes of Javier Hernandez could be up there as well in terms of underrated strikers.
Yeah.
He'd come on and just do a striker's job. Very much like Berbatov, probably not necessarily there to track back and help the team, but in terms of, with Hernandez anyway, standing in the box, doing what he gets paid to do, score goals, get winners, get equalisers. Berbatov had a few more strings to his bow in terms of his technical ability and his build-up play. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm looking at, in terms of Premier League stats, not just Manchester United, but he made 229 appearances in the Premier League, 40 assists and 94 goals. So 134 goal contributions. So it's every one in two games he's contributing to a goal. They're great. They're great stats. He's doing
at Leverkusen as well. Won it 69 goals in. I think it was something about 154 Bundesliga appearances.
Oh yeah, I mean that
obviously played in a Champions League final as well, didn't he, for Leverkusen against Real Madrid?
Well, in that season, he could have won the Champions League, the German Cup, and the Bundesliga. They fell short in every 3 of them, but that just shows, I think, his impact and the ability he had. And clearly he's won things in his career. He's probably deserved to win more.
Well, I don't know, 2 Premier League titles. Well, it's 2 more than Stevie G.
Well, exactly.
Oh, Flippy G.
It definitely is. He won the League Cup with Spurs, didn't he, as well?
Well, last time they won a trophy, that 1908.
Let's not take it to Spurs back.
No, they won the League Cup, didn't they?
Back in like 2007,
09,
2008. I can't remember. It was when Juan de Ramos was in charge, wasn't it?
Has anyone seen the Dulux are the new sponsor of Tottenham or something? And they were just absolutely slagging them off on Twitter.
Really?
No, I haven't seen it, mate.
Basically,
I've got a question for you as well after this drill.
Okay, I won't finish. Never mind.
You finish, mate, first, and then that's just reminded me of something. I'll come back to it though.
Basically, Tottenham were tweeting like things, and Dulux were just tweeting them back, like just pieing them off. Like said something like the tweets that Tottenham tweet something. Dulux would say, "I'm sure the trophy cabinet could use a good painting, but let's get the dust off first," and stuff like that.
Maybe a bit of friendly banter.
Someone said, "Why is this? Why are we allowing this to happen? Why is our new sponsor disrespecting us?" But
it's probably that sort of motivational thing, isn't it? Where they just like slag you off and to motivate you.
Yeah.
So inadvertently now Tottenham are going to go and prove them wrong in League Cup final.
I think that fucking dog's laughing at us. So that Deluxe dog, we've got to do something about it. What were you going to say anyway, Rob?
Yeah, go on. What's your quote?
Bo is my hill, mate. Did you go and watch it?
Yes,
I did. I did actually.
You did? Was it not, mate, one of the greatest goalkeeping displays you've ever seen? It was absolute insanity, was it
No
not?
one said anything.
Well,
That was the
Yeah, but
best
it-
I've seen what he said.
I said I didn't watch it.
Oh, you didn't watch it?
No, I didn't. I forgot, to be honest.
Oh, I thought you did watch it. Yeah, yeah, it was really good game. I
It was
must admit though,
incredible.
like he made a couple of double saves and stuff in that match.
You could pick out 3 or 4 world-class saves in that game.
But I feel like why have I not thought about Boaz Hill more? He's clearly done something.
Well, mate, you'll think
right.
about it now. Next time you see a top quality goalkeeping display, you'll think, but was it as good as our Hill?
That's the new comparison.
As good as our Hill.
Anyway, back to Berbatov. So we've talked a lot about his goal contributions and stuff like that. Something I came across was a reason he might have been left out of the Man United squad and what happened obviously with Champions League stuff, that is that he had a negative impact on other players. The way he played football had a negative impact on other players, specifically Rooney, and the way he would like to play the game. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's similar to, like I said, wasn't it, mate? The way Barcelona played football, you're chasing shadows for 90 minutes. If you've got someone who's not, I don't know, maybe instinctively, if you've got someone who maybe doesn't put that, I won't say 100% effort, but maybe doesn't, sprint around and, track back and things like that, then maybe you instinctively don't do that as well. Maybe you sort of drop a couple of percent, and obviously to beat that Barcelona side back then, you had to be at 110%. You couldn't afford to be sort of not at it.
Yeah. What do you need to be now to beat Barcelona?
About 25%.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. But I suppose, so do you think Berbatov did have a negative impact on Rooney Wall?
No, I don't think so. Like, I think they complement each other. Like I say, you've got the players like, Rooney's doing the running and the tenacity, because that's what he loves doing.
Tenacity.
I don't think Berbatov, walking around the pitch, doing his thing, doing his flicks, doing his tricks, doing his smart passing, I don't think that's going to deter Rooney at all. I think I'm with Rob in terms of, look, you look at that Barcelona team and think you need players who are willing to track back, who have got the ability to go up and down the pitch, the work rate, and also, the fitness, and, obviously Berbatov was a professional footballer. Of course he was fit enough to play, but
yeah, he wasn't that character, was he?
Well, he wasn't. He wasn't the type of player who's going to run back and be able to get up and down the pitch consistently.
But
so,
in fairness to Berbatov, I don't think if he'd have played it, a great player, but I don't think Man United would have overcome that Barcelona side with him in it anyway. I think they were just simply too good, weren't they?
Well, they were at that point. I don't necessarily agree with them being left out of the squad completely.
No, I don't. I think that's
if it's 1-1,
unnecessary,
or
isn't it?
When we're at 1-1, or when we're 2-1 down, chuck
it's
him on.
Absolutely absurd, isn't it? Leaving your top scorer out for the season of a Champions League final, not even having him on the bench.
Well, yeah, exactly. And maybe there's other things afoot.
I sort of read after that. That's right. When Berbatov asked Sir Alex to do the foreword for his autobiography, he was only too happy, and sort of he admitted to Berbatov that he got it wrong, that he should have included him in the squad, and what, he shouldn't have left him out. So who knows? Maybe it just sort of, who knows? Maybe it was that about negative impact around the squad.
Well, if someone like Sir Alex Ferguson says they're wrong about you, that's a big admission for somebody who's arguably the greatest football manager in the Premier League era.
Well, only fourth, apparently, according to...
Yes, I had to bring that up. That thing that said he was the fourth greatest Premier manager. I thought, I've got to have a laugh. I've got to see the 3 are in front of him. If you see,
the 3 in front of him?
Klopp was number 1. Oh, who else was there?
Klopp is the greatest manager in English football.
Pep. Oh, no, it was Wenger. Wenger was top, wasn't he?
Was Wenger top?
Yeah, Wenger was top. Then it was Pep. Then it was Klopp. Then it was Ferguson.
Yeah, it was Mourinho 5th. Yeah. Now, it's one of those things. It's one of those things where if you put if you put Wenger top and then Ferguson below him, I could be like, okay, yeah, Wenger didn't win as much, but maybe he was a better manager. I don't know. But then,
I revolutionised English football, I suppose.
But he's 4th. I thought, who could be in front of him that makes him 4th? I think he won a Premier League every other season on average, and he's still only the 4th best Premier League history.
Was it Warnock who said this?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah,
it was Warnock, wasn't it? I'm not being funny. How can you claim Pep is better than Ferguson? I mean, I know Ferguson spent money, but he also rebuilt a team 3 times. Pep's just walked into every club he's had and just spent a shit ton of money.
Yeah, don't get me wrong.
To be fair, though,
in a few years,
still, I don't know. Man United did spend money as well. Wall. I agree with you.
I just said that.
Ferguson's a better manager, but Guardiola's still. Let's be honest. There was a couple of seasons ago, City were absolutely unplayable, weren't they?
Well, this year,
so I know he spent a lot of money, but he's still got to make it work, can he?
Well, yeah, but then Klopp. I mean, what's your argument there? I mean, yeah, he's had a great season in Liverpool last season, then been absolutely dogbagged this year. You can blame injuries, but you've still got a squad.
I think he turned Liverpool from nothing into something, didn't he?
Well, yeah,
they were pretty rubbish before.
It's in terms of Liverpool delivering the first title in 30 years. It's forever. He's forever got his sort of iconic status at Anfield, hasn't he?
Oh, he does.
Anyway, before we go any further, I just want to say, should we go back to Berbatov?
Yeah, we should probably move on back to Berbatov.
So, coming to the end of it now, obviously, let's think about our ratings for Berbatov. So, for those of you that haven't listened before, or for the boys if they need a reminder, we use a ranking system from 1 to 5. 1 being a player the streets should never forget. Rank number 2 being a player the streets probably shouldn't forget. Rank number 3, streets can do what they like with that one. Rank number 4, the streets should probably forget him. And rank number 5, the streets should definitely forget him. This is not a rating on skill. This is a rating on how well they should be appreciated and how underrated they were. So if you put them at number 1, you think they're very underrated. If you put them at rank 5, you think they're very overrated.
I think, just before we move on, Trail.
Go on.
While we're talking about goalkeeping displays and Bowers Myhill, this Rotherham keeper is having an absolute worldie himself.
It's not Bowers Myhill, is it?
No, it's not me, but keeping score at 0-0, so that's me happy.
Good old Bowers Myhill substitute replacement.
2.0.
The spirit of Bowers.
He's pulled off 2 cracking saves.
Since you're clearly distracted by something else, Rob, I'll go to you first, mate. Where are you putting Dimitar Berbatov?
I'm putting him probably, mate, if we're going off last week's initial judgment, I'll probably put him in rank 5,
Rank 5?
No, of course, no. We've already set the precedent now, so he's got to be rank 1, hasn't he? Every player that's going to come up now has got to be rank 1.
Every player that comes up is rank 1.
Sand.
After nonsense of last week. But no, he's going to be rank 1 because, like we spoke about, he's an artist at times on the pitch, wasn't he? His touch, his vision, his awareness, his ability to take the ball in tight situations. And the thing about Berbatov was he never looked under pressure for the best footballers. Make it look easy, make it look simple. And sort of whenever he was at a one-on-one, sometimes you see replays and you see commentators say, well, you can tell he's panicked, he's rushed it. Whereas Berbatov, I've seen goals from him sort of, almost like faking a shot about 4 times, almost like thinking everything through in his head, and sort of that calmness and never being deterred or never feeling under pressure.
Yeah.
So I think along with that, his ability, the way he could use either foot, the way he could finesse it, he could outside of the foot it, his range of finishing as well, the way he would chip the ball, just made the game look easy. Like I said, no bigger compliment than saying he reminds me a bit of Dennis Bergkamp. So yeah, rank 1.
So that's fair enough, Rob. We'll take that. Wall, I know obviously you're a big Berbatov fan, but was he really underrated? Are you putting him rank 1 as well?
It is a tough one because, like I said, I do love Berbatov, and I know Rocky has gone on about bloody Tim Howard. He's a goalkeeper. We're comparing him differently to outfield players. You can't compare Tim Howard to the likes of Berbatov, or in your case, Scott Parker, because I know you're sour about it.
Yeah, I'm sour about them. Putting him in rank 1.
I mean, yeah, I'm going to stick him in rank 1 because, like I say, I love Berbatov, and my opinion shouldn't really be taken too honestly, because obviously, as much as I've said, great player. In terms of my childhood, he was one of the players I loved to watch. All the skill, I could watch that West Ham goal all day. I could watch his acting against Liverpool all bloody day. He's a player who, like I say, Rob's comparing to Bergkamp, very, very Cantona-esque as well, in the fact that he just was able just to walk around the pitch and do his thing, and it worked. And he still got the goals, and he got the assists, and he probably doesn't get the credit he deserves because of how relaxed he was. I've got a quote actually. This is him describing his style of play. He just says, "I'm a relaxed guy. I play that way, and I can't change my style. I watch games and see guys who panic on the ball. They look so nervous, and I think that really does just express how he is. He's calm, he's collected, technically gifted, and he's able just to do what he does so easily, so calmly, so nonchalantly. And I think at the time when United were playing, we were allowed to have those sort of players. We can't have them now, but back in the day, you could have a player who could play like that, and it was there to entertain. He was there to get fans off the seats, but also his stats line up with what he was doing, and I think it shows that he was still making an impact without necessarily getting the recognition he probably deserved for it.
Yeah, I mean, again, very, very good points, Wall. What I've got to say now sort of doesn't really matter because you both put in rank 1, so my rank 5 means nothing. But no, I would say I was torn between 1 and 2, but I'm going to go for rank 2. So don't cry, please, Wall.
You're dead to me. Sorry, mate.
It's Rob Scott Parker all over again. I think he was an underrated player, and I'm not going to deny that. And a lot of people have good things to say about him. I just feel that maybe for his career, the going to the Fulham thing sort of just stung a bit weird for me.
Did he get relegated with Fulham?
I'm not sure.
Not sure, actually. I know in the end, I think he might have got released by him when he went to Monaco, but I'm not sure what they'd done that season.
He, great gifted player and some really good goals. But yeah, again, it also sticks with me that he might have been a bit of a negative impact on the Man United team for his attitude, which has been brought up a few times by people. Now, don't get me wrong, that Manchester United team's still a great Manchester United team, but I sometimes think that could Manchester United have done more in those years? But then again, you could argue that Berbatov didn't even go to that final, so you can't even do it that way. I just don't think he's on. For example, if I'm comparing him to other rank 1 players like Tim Howard, Berbatov's goalkeeping skills, I've not seen clips of him.
I mean, I've not seen any saves, put it that way.
Yeah, I would say saves. He's never saved a goal, Dimitar Berbatov. So that's obviously for me. I get why you've put him in rank 1, and it was a hard decision for me. But for me, there is something missing to put him in that top rank of being heavily underrated. I think he is underrated, just not that much.
Fair enough. To be fair, I think this is the first week that Rob's not mentioned magic moments.
Yeah. What's Berbatov's magic moment?
And Berbatov's got plenty of magic moments.
Well, his magic moments would be things like that West Ham assist, wouldn't he? Hat-trick against Liverpool and those 5 goals. There is magic moments.
Thank you,
not
Rob.
the magic moments.
We didn't mention him.
Being outdone by Michael Owen for the Champions League final.
Being mugged off.
Well, like I say, that's Dimitar Berbatov put in rank 1. So as our second player, it's 2 in 2 weeks to be put in rank 1. But yeah, Dimitar Berbatov goes in rank 1. What a fantastically underrated player, I must agree. So that brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you very much for joining me, boys. Before we go, we'll just say that next week will be our last episode of the series. That'll be episode 8. And we will not be doing an underrated player. We will be doing or overrated player, I should say. We're going to be doing our underrated and overrated teams of the season. There has been much debate about this between us already.
This is going to be a very lengthy episode.
Yeah, this will be longer.
It's only going to be lengthy, because you're going to put some nonsense in there about left back for starters.
Let's not give anything away. You can sell tension high. If you are listening to this podcast and you've enjoyed it, I definitely encourage you to come back next week for the team underrated and overrated teams of the season. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a lovely evening, lovely weekend. Thank you very much for joining me, boys.
See you later.
Cheers, boys. Take care.